Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is testifying in Atlanta today at a hearing to determine whether she can run for re-election. This is a live look at that hearing. Congresswoman Greene arrives just a short time ago to a round of applause. A group of voters claim the Georgia lawmaker is ineligible for re-election under a clause in the 14th Amendment disqualifying anyone from holding office who has, quote, engaged in insurrection against the United States. Those voters say Greene should be disqualified because she helped facilitate the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Greene has denied helping or engaging in an insurrection. And once Greene does take the stand, she'll become the first sitting lawmaker to testify under oath about the January 6th insurrection. ABC News political director Rick Klein joins me now for more on that. Rick, what do you make of the room cheering for Greene this morning as she walked in?
No one is doubting the veracity of support that she enjoys. Among those in the courtroom this morning, Congressman Matt Gaetz, another very Trumpian member of Congress, representative from Florida, who's got issues of his own. And in fact, there are other members of Congress that are facing similar challenges. But the bottom line is the issues before the court aren't going to depend at all on the ovation that Marjorie Taylor Greene got on entering the courtroom this morning.
So what are the larger repercussions here of having Greene be the first sitting lawmaker to have to testify under oath about the events surrounding January 6th?
Yeah, two big things happening here, Diane. Number one is what she says about January 6th. We know that she's been asked many times about things. She tweets all the time, even recently, about the events of January 6th. But to have to answer questions about her conduct on that day, who she was in touch with, who she was hearing from, what kind of people she was directing potentially, what kind of groups she was in touch with, what other lawmakers she was talking to, all of those are big unanswered questions that I think are newly relevant even in the light of the revelations overnight about Kevin McCarthy and what he was saying and doing in real time around January 6th. The other is this basic issue of eligibility for the ballot, because if Marjorie Taylor Greene is disqualified from the ballot, there are other members of Congress who were involved in the events around January 6th, also former President Trump himself involved in the events around January 6th. They could be potentially held to be ineligible as well. So looking at the substance here, a lot of interesting information can come out about the attacks on the Capitol of last January, but the legal precedents here could be fascinating as well.
Based on what she has said about the insurrection, what are you specifically listening for today as she takes the stand?
Well, I'm curious how much detail she's willing to go into, because she'll be under oath. She has to answer questions, but how expansive she is, how much detail she goes into. Is there anything that she tries to shield under various claims of privilege or just outright defiance and not answer who she was talking to and when? There have been a lot of accusations made about Marjorie Taylor Greene, about her actions on that day, about people that she may have been coordinating with, other lawmakers, outside groups. Anything that she sheds light on would be very, very interesting for the January 6th committee, also for any kind of federal prosecutions that are ongoing in other areas or that are still digging in. So the tone of her answers, the specifics of it, getting away from the legal part of it, which her lawyer is currently outlining, will be really interesting because she's under oath and because of the setting.
Now, what would the court need to find in this case to prevent her from running again?
It would be extraordinary. They would have to find that she engaged in an insurrection, and therefore, under this clause of the 14th Amendment, she would be ineligible to serve further in Congress, and therefore would have to be kicked off the ballot. It's never been used since the era for which it was designed. This was part of the package of amendments that passed during Reconstruction that were intended to patch things together in the Republic after the Civil War. It was intended specifically against people that joined forces with the Confederacy, that had served in Congress before and may try to serve again. The people that behind that amendment at the time wanted to make sure that you didn't have former Confederate officers or Confederate oath takers, even people that served in the Confederate Congress, coming back to the United States Congress and influencing policy. It hasn't been used since then. But you heard from the lawyers for these voters today that this was a circumstance that was unlike anything we've seen since the 1860s, and therefore it is warranted. So the court would have to find that she violated that portion of the 14th Amendment, and therefore can't appear on primary ballots, even as those primary ballots are currently being printed for voting that starts next month.
And as you mentioned, she's not the only Republican lawmaker facing a challenge like this. The others so far have failed. They haven't made it this far, but there are other challenges still out there. So could this case set a precedent for other cases, either related to January 6th or future cases?
No question. Look, this is an interesting little quirk, but of course we have state courts that are determining eligibility around the Constitution. So it's possible that they interpret it differently. We have cases against Madison Cawthorn in North Carolina, Paul Gosar in Arizona, Ron Johnson in Wisconsin, all at various different stages. This is the furthest that any of those cases have gotten. And the big kahuna would be if President Trump decides to run again. There will almost certainly be challenges based on the 14th Amendment to his potential candidacy in various states, because you appear on state ballots when you run for president. And that will be based in part, I have to assume, on the precedents that are set by courts like the one that's playing out in Atlanta this morning.
All right, ABC News political director Rick Klein. We appreciate it, Rick, as always. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.